Prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today. Please grant us wisdom, patience, and clarity as we make decisions that impact our students, staff, and community. Guide our words and actions so that they reflect integrity, compassion, and a shared commitment to what is best for all. Amen.
Good evening, and welcome to the February 9th, 2026 Dorchester District 2 Board of Trustees meeting. At this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda and meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Powell. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor. All right, the next item on our agenda this evening is our district highlights, and we've got Mr. Brian Bohannon to bring us those.
Good evening, Dr. Wimberly, Mr. Doherty, board members. Tonight's district highlights are a perfect combination of academic, athletic, and staff achievement. Back one more. Beautiful. That's all right. For our first highlight, please welcome District Content Specialist, Dr. April Simmons.
Good evening, Dr. Wimberly, Mr. Doty, and members of the board. We are very excited to be here tonight to recognize our district spelling bee winners. The students here tonight have already accomplished so much. They have won their class bees, school bees, and finally, they have placed in the top 6 at the Dorchester 2 Spelling Bee. These 6 students will represent DD2 in the Spellbound Spelling Bee sponsored by the Post and Courier Tuesday, March 10th at Charleston Southern University. Here are our finalists. Amelia Hawkins, grade 7 at DuBose Middle School. Emerson Kalowski, grade 8, Rawlings Middle School of the Arts. Alexis Antley, grade 6, DuBose Middle School. Kendall Veronique Rush, grade 6, Alston Middle School. Brianna Brown, grade 8, River Oaks Middle School. And our spelling bee champion, Michael Cade, grade 8, River Oaks Middle School. Cute, cute. I got him.
Thank you, Dr. Simmons. Congratulations, spellers. If you want to play along at home, I believe the final word this year was contiguous. Good luck. Our next highlight shifts from academic competition to athletic excellence. District Athletic Director Mr. Tyrone Drakeford regrets he wasn't able to be here tonight, not feeling well. I'm going to cover down in his absence. Competitive wrestling demands discipline, resilience, and mental toughness, especially at the state level. This year, one of our middle school students achieved something truly remarkable. Competing in the 84-pound weight class, this athlete earned middle school wrestling state championship, winning at the highest level of sub-varsity competition in her very first year in the sport. As a female student athlete, capturing a middle school wrestling state title, this accomplishment is rare and reflects not only athletic skill, but courage, determination, and commitment. Please join me in recognizing, from Gregg Middle School, 7th grader Taylor Delk. Congratulations, Taylor. For our final highlight, I'm pleased to welcome Natasha Fields, who serves on the board of directors for the Palmetto State School Counseling Association. Ms. Fields?
Thank you. Good evening. The Palmetto State School Counselor Association is dedicated to advancing the profession of school counseling, and annually we set out to recognize those who have demonstrated their belief in and support of school counseling programs that have an impact on school counselors and our students at the local, state, or national level. Here are thoughts of our 2026 Advocate of the Year. Professional development under Mrs. Mercer Brown's leadership has been transformative. Instead of offering generic workshops, she has taken the time to gather feedback from counselors at every level and design learning opportunities that match what we actually need. Her her sessions are powerful and purposeful, relevant and grounded in best practice, one of the many reasons counselors across the district trust her guidance. Another said, data use and impact reporting have also grown tremendously because of her vision. Mrs. Mercer Brown has integrated practical, user-friendly methods for counselors to track outcomes, highlight results, and advocate for change within their buildings. She empowers us to use data not as a compliance measure, but as a tool for storytelling and improvement. This shift has strengthened school-wide advocacy efforts and helps counselors demonstrate the value of comprehensive school counseling programs. The Palmetto State School Counselor Association is proud to recognize Ms. Galia Mercer Brown as our Advocate of the Year.
Congratulations, Galia. This concludes tonight's district highlights.
All right, the next item on our agenda this evening is our public comments on agenda items, and we do not have any. So we will move right to our board committee reports. First up, we have our policy committee. Ms. Bates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Currently, we don't have any new policies up for reading, but we do have our upcoming schedule now that we're back in swing. So as you can see, it's up there with our upcoming meetings, and I don't have anything else to share unless Ms. King wants to add anything. Nope. All right, that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have our finance committee. Mr. Lee.
Finance committee met just briefly before tonight's board meeting. Highlight from that, we'll hear about tonight some unexpected but rather significant maintenance that we're going to have to pay for in terms of HVAC units and whatnot. But good meeting. We've established a schedule to take us through the budgeting process all the way through the middle of the year. We'll revise our schedule going forward after we get through that episode and continue going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then last but certainly not least, we have our facilities committee. Mr. Farnsworth.
You got it. Thank you, Madam Chair. We did meet earlier this afternoon as well. We have a facilities report that we'll be getting a little bit later this board meeting. A couple reminders, board members, if you will keep in touch with your calendar. We have facility walkthroughs happening over the next couple months. So if anybody would like to join and can join, please feel free to to be a part of those. And then our next meeting will be March 9th for facilities. And anything for Ms. Powell? All good.
All right, thank you very much. I apologize, that was not last. We actually have a report also from our Governmental and Community Relations Committee. Mr. Lee?
So after reigniting this committee that was around in the past, try and reinvigorate that, we had an initial meeting to start putting together our thoughts around a charter and a vision, looking at trying to present a 2-year view looking forward about all the various government and community relations things that we want to intentionally go after. You know, there are a lot of stakeholder groups around our schools, our school system. Certainly the obvious ones, county council, legislative delegation, the state, and everything else. But there are a lot of other organizations that influence our district, and we want to have positive relationships with them as a board. And want to be very intentional about what we're doing in terms of DD2. And we've completed kind of an initial identification of some key stakeholder groups. There are more than meets the eye. And so we're really thinking about how to get some things going. Certain of those groups we'd like to meet with sooner rather than later, but the practical reality is certain things will take precedent, i.e. the budget and so forth. Ms. Bates, any comments?
No, I look forward to working with Jim here and seeing how we can continue to have dialogue and outreach with our community and our legislative delegation and our county council and all the stakeholders involved. I think we're off to a good start, so I'm excited.
Great. Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you for your commitment to that. We appreciate it, and we're all looking forward to being part of some of those conversations. Okay, next item on our agenda is our board chair's report, and just a reminder of a couple things and a couple important things we have coming up. We do have the SCSBA annual conference, February 19th through the 22nd. Looking forward to some great information from that and working with y'all there. And then we also have our board winter retreat, which will be right after that Monday following. Right now it is scheduled for 2 to 5, and I will be reaching out to work with y'all to ask for your input in planning the agenda for that. So be thinking about if there are things you would like to have included, because I will be asking for that very shortly. And then just as a reminder also, we have the COSPA National Conference, March 13th through the 15th. So we've got a few big things on the calendar. Certainly not the only things, though. All right. Any questions about any of those events or anything else? Okay, great. Thank you. Well, we will get into our superintendent's report with Mr. Doherty as our next item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this evening, we're going to have Mr. Thad Schmink, Director of Data Analytics, come up and talk to us about our winter map growth. And I know we talk a lot about projects and things, but academics are in the forefront. And when we look at the NWA, this is NWA winter map growth rate. We take the NWA in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And when we look at this, it's a telltale sign of kind of the growth that we're making. And a lot of our teachers, when you're talking about elementary, middle school, they use this data to help drive some of their instruction to see how well our students are performing in math and reading. And so I'll let Mr. Schmink talk about the data that we have in the winter and kind of share his thoughts. So thank you, Thad.
Yes, so excellent. As Mr. Doherty said, first of all, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Doherty. As Mr. Doherty said, is we take it 3 times a year. First time of the year is more for kind of a screener, making sure we place kids correctly in interventions. In wintertime, we're using this to make minor adjustments, look at students who are making progress, and to reward them and to find anybody that we need to make adjustments with. And then in the spring, we use that data not only to give an evaluation for the entire year, but also to start planning the next year for curriculum and other purposes. As you can see here, first of all, I try to always stay without emotion when I'm presenting data, but we do have a lot of good information to present tonight, so that's good. As you can see here, the average RIT score, and I want to talk about a RIT score just for a moment, which is, this is not a measurement of achievement. This is a measurement of readiness. What are students ready to learn? And what's good news is you can see there over the last 4 years, we have consistently increase the level of readiness in our students to be able to learn. So we're in both ELA and math. And I know that doesn't seem like much, but 3 RIT points for an average is actually something to take note of. So we're very happy with that consistent and constant progress. This next slide here, I'm sorry, I had to bring my own because my eyes are going. This is our ELA, the achievement quintiles. So this is just basically showing you how the students are distributed into the various groups. So we break you into 5 different groups, from really nice and high to a little on the low side of achievement. And one of the things that we can note here for ELA that we're very excited about is you can see a decrease in the number in the red and the orange. So a decrease of your lowest achieving students. And what's nice is that's not just pushing through to average, it's pushing all the way through. Like we can see an increase in high, average, and high as well. So that's what you want to see. You don't want to see them bottlenecking, right? So again, really good movement there. And on the next slide, this is math, and it's the same thing. You can see the distribution. And once again, we're also excited that we're seeing all of the yellow, blue, and green bars grow, as well as the low and low average decrease. Again, that's what you want. That's really kind of textbook of what you're looking for. On the next slide here, we have our fall to winter map growth quintiles. What this is saying is that the last one was achievement, right? So how are your students overall achieving? And this is more of a measurement of who's growing. And we're really excited about this particular chart for our ELA because you can see, again, we break you into 5 different groups, and our lowest group there, we went from 27% being in that low group last year to just about 11%, 11.5% this year. So we're really excited about that. That means kids are really moving. Last year was a tough year for us in ELA because we had a new curriculum. And so this is the 2nd year of that curriculum, and we're excited to see that movement. On the next slide here, we can see this is the same thing. Again, this is how well students are growing. Again, love to see that low bar is significantly shrinking and everything else is increasing. And we are particularly proud of this one because this is the year where we're getting new math standards and using new math resources. And so even despite having to use lots of new pacing guides and curriculum resources, our teachers are working very hard, and we're still seeing a lot of wonderful progress with our students. This next one is sort of a different way of measuring it, right? So instead of just showing you how students are kind of divvied up across the board into different categories, this is just kind of boiling it down to give me one number, right? So in this situation, 0 is expected growth, right? So if you have a 0, it's actually a good thing on this particular chart. Anything above that is what you would like to see. So over the last 3 years, we've had consistent positive conditional growth. In math and in ELA, we've struggled, but look at that for this year. Really a sizable difference there. And I know that 0.25 doesn't seem like maybe much, but the scale is usually pretty small. You're only talking usually -3 to +3, and it's a distribution. So those are your tails. So getting that movement in the middle is what you're looking for. And again, we're really happy with that ELA result. And then I believe this is the last slide here. We like to also take a look at Lexiles and Quantiles. And just, again, RIT is sort of a measurement of readiness, the achievement we talked about growth. Lexiles mainly focuses around students' vocabulary, and the Quantiles is sort of like your numeracy ability in math. So you've got your vocabulary on the one side and kind of numeracy on the other. And we're also really happy to show that those have been slowly moving up across the district over the last 3 years. So overall, good information. Sometimes we get a mixed bag of data. What's nice is all these slides are all pointing to one thing, which is nice, slow, steady progress. All right.
And the other thing I'd like to reiterate is, when you have a well-articulated curriculum tied to the state standards, and then you're assessing that and what we're doing, you can see that the growth that we're having, and a lot of that's tribute to what our teachers are doing in the classroom with that new curriculum led by our curriculum and instruction team, Mrs. Barker and her group. They have done a phenomenal job of trying to make sure that we're using the curriculum resources that we have provided. Also, when you're looking at that, you're thinking of NWA. We take it 3 times a year, and it's great for teachers to use this, especially when they go and have, especially at the elementary, when they're having parent-teacher conferences. Where's my son and daughter? Where were they at last year? Are they growing? And it's a nice way to use this data on the RIT, as what Mr. Schmink said, is you can use that and it shows progress. The other thing that Mr. Schmink, we really started using him a lot more in the last couple years is he's been meeting with principals to go over a lot of this data. And so they're able to articulate what this data means, and then they're able to take that data and then put a plan together when they're meeting with their teachers and then their teams. And so they've done a really good job of working with our curriculum instruction team of doing this. And so it just doesn't come just like, oh, the data is great. There's a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes for us to be able to get some of this data to look that way. So it's come with a lot of work from our teachers and our administrators and our support staff. So thank you.
So, quick question, and I'm really out of curiosity. The data set here appears to be basically every student, elementary and middle school. If I were to ask the question, underneath all of this data, are there populations that we know we need to focus on more in order to continue that growth?
So this data reflects our kindergarten through 8th. I do not include the 9th, 10th, and 11th because it's not really reflective of the entire population because we only really use it in our interventions in the high school, so it's very few students. It's a small N, as we would say, but K through 8, it really depends. So we have, yes, we do have some pockets of students, and I would say it differs by school, and it's very difficult for me to sit here and give a general statement. I don't want it to be misleading about any one particular subgroup, but we do, yes, we would at the school level typically break down, because let's just take the 5 strong ones, your ML students, your special education populations. We're looking at typically like your different genders. We're looking at your ethnicities. So we're slicing the pie in many different ways. So I want the public to be assured that we do look at that data, but even let's just take, for example, inside of your ML population. The ML population at one school versus another school, the characteristics of that population are so different. So for me to make a blanket statement about ML would be very difficult. Some of them, you're talking about poverty, you're talking about resources, you're talking about how migratory they are, or a lot of influx, outflux. So there are a lot of movement involved. So again, every school is different, and we try to look at every subgroup through many lenses and not just the lens of that one broad subgroup name.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And that is kind of what I was alluding to, the fact that I think that's what we do better than any other district, I would argue, in the state, is that we're able to drill down into those pockets, into those subgroups at the school level and really kind of drill in, because that's how, we've already set the bar here, and so now we got to get to here, and that really takes digging into those subgroups.
And I appreciate the comment there, and to take it one step further, we do look at the trends, but at the end of the day, I know it sounds maybe a little controversial, but we also put those subgroups aside, because I think one of the things that we do best is that we just look at kids. We have lists of kids. We don't really care what those subgroup checks are next to the name. We're just looking at you and we're saying, how can we make your experience better? And for example, today I met with one particular elementary school. I worked with 3 different teacher groups, and that is all we did. We drilled down and said, okay, who's doing this? Who are the names? Who are the lists for? Who are you going to go back and congratulate? Who do we need to maybe put into Read 180? Who do we just need to have a little chat with about resting and not really challenging themselves? And so every kid is getting a comment next to their name so that they have a targeted approach for every single student. I know that seems crazy with 26,000 students, but that's just where we make the difference.
Kind of piggybacking on that, I don't know that crazy is the word I would use. The level of diligence to do that in a district with 27,000 students is not to be unrecognized. But that said, so am I to infer from your comments and whatnot that, as you're using this data and you're meeting with the schools, yes, you're interrogating those special groups because we rack and stack kids in 10 different ways. But I like the comment about the point that, look, at the end of the day, it's about children. It's about the individual kid and what we're doing for each one of them. So my question is what do you see in these trends, overall, that we need to focus on or that the board needs to focus on to help make sure that this continues in this direction?
That's a complicated question. It's about an hour's discussion, but the short of it is there are, again, it's very hard to say that ML students or special education students or females or whatever the subgroup might be need a blanket statement. I think one of the things that we appreciate most about our leadership is that they're trying to look at each school and each group inside that school separately to figure out, what's equitable isn't always what's equal. And I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate that there's sometimes some school gets an extra allocation or an extra resource or an extra who knows what, because that particular population at that particular school is what's calling for that. And we like the action plans too, because we're always asking ourselves, what's the end plan, right? How do we get out of that extra help so we can move that resource someplace else? So again, to give a broad sweeping statement would be difficult because we have 26 schools and 26 unique personalities of each school and needs of each school. But to help with just, I guess, line item help, that would be the best way of describing it, line item help.
The other thing I'd add to this, when you take the NWA, every child can grow. And so this is a test that's adaptive. And so what I mean by that, if the child gets the question right, it goes to a harder question. If the child gets it wrong, it goes to an easier question. So it's adaptive. And so what's great about this is it shows every child can grow. And so when you that our teachers are using, that's just kind of that triangulation of data. You look at the SC Ready, that's kind of the autopsy, because what have they been doing all year at the end? But when you take NWA, you're taking it 3 times a year. So I can progress monitor throughout the year, and I can see, okay, is this child growing at winter? The other thing that our schools are doing a really good job is our students are taking ownership of their own learning. What I mean by that is students are now knowing what their RIT is. And so a lot of schools, what you call PBIS, they're trying to say, hey, are you growing? And so every student is taking ownership of that, and we're trying to get kids to understand this is what we're trying to do to get better each and every day. And so it's all about growth, is kind of what Thad talked about earlier. It's not about this group or that population. It's about each individual student growing. And so that's what we love about NWA. And in NWA is then coincides with Read 180. So if we know a student has a certain RIT, then we know that they can get a Tier 3 or Tier 2 intervention. So, it's a great tool to use, but it's not the only tool we use. We use formative along the way, and so some other things that we do in the classroom. But NWA is a great tool that we use to help monitor that progress. So, I just want to say thank you to Thad, because he is really getting into the weeds, and they're drilling down. You can see how specific they are, and we have that motto: what gets monitored gets done. And so we're really trying to monitor this for every child. So I appreciate that.
I was just going to say, thank you again, too. I really love MAP, being able to dive. I wish, every board member who's not as familiar with it, but I've gotten to utilize it with my student at home even, and it's just really neat because, like you were saying, you get to see the group overall in each grade and school overall, but you really do get to see the individual growth of each student and target each student individually and make sure they're growing. And it's just a really, really good tool. So this data is awesome. I appreciate you and all you do with it. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
The next items we have there on the report would be a motion to replace the HVAC units at Flowertown Elementary and Newington Elementary School as presented. It's in your board packet. And so just asking for board's approval on that.
All right, board members, this, as Mr. Doherty said, this was included in our packet. We also did discuss this in our facilities and then again briefly in our finance committee meetings earlier. So at this time, could I get a motion to replace the HVAC units at Flowertown Elementary and Newington Elementary School as presented?
So moved.
All right, motion made by Mr. Lee. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Farnsworth. Any questions or discussion?
Madam Chair, I would just point out this is not an insignificant expense. And these are some of the challenges that we face as a school district, not only in this specific acute situation, but based on the age of some of our equipment and our schools. And this is a real challenge that we have to deal with. We're fortunate we're able to deal with this one right now, but yeah, that's my
Agreed.
comment.
All right, yes, I agree. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor.
Yes, the next item on our agenda is 7C, the renovation of the Fort Dorchester High School gym. That was presented also in our facilities meeting. And this project is above the $250,000 threshold. And again, we're hoping to have a new floor done sometime between March and May. And I know we're having issues on that floor. We're having to tack down the boards quite frequently at Fort Dorchester High School. So again, asking for board approval this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Doherty. Board members, at this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve the renovation of the Fort Dorchester High School gym floor as presented. Motion made by Ms. Bates, seconded by Ms. King. Any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor.
Our next item on the agenda is our facilities report. This is a lot of same information that you heard before, but we want to talk a little bit about our facilities update, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Jeff Smith, Director of Facilities and Maintenance, and Mr. Tony Souls, Capital Project Facility. So, Mr. Smith.
Good evening. Just wanted to give a brief overview of a few things that have been completed or that are currently under construction, and one of those being Windsor Hill. We've actually got 2 projects going on there. The HVAC replacement is complete. We still have some heat strips that did not come in for one of the units in the media center, so we have some temporary heat in there currently, but those are about, I think it was about a 3 to 5 week lead time on those heat strips, so once they come in, we'll be able to get that fully operational, and otherwise, I think there's, fine-tuning the system, new controls, and making sure everything works correctly, but so far, so good. A few growing pains at the beginning, but otherwise I think we're doing well now. Also, the roofing project, we did a final punch list. It was one of the smaller punch lists I've ever seen for roofing, so it actually went really well. So that should all be wrapping up, and we should be able to do closeouts on that by the end of this month. The Gregg Middle School gym floor, so we started that project over break, ran into some issues, and so we'll be completing, mostly it's just down to the logos and repainting the logo in the center, and that'll all happen over spring break. So that will finish up before we get to the summer. The Somerville High School tennis courts, so we have the design in progress. We've already got a survey in process as well, so that's going to be over at the softball location at Austin Middle School, so that's what we're shooting for, and well underway, and we're hoping to have final plans sometime before we get to summer so we can get that out for bid and hopefully have it done sometime relatively quick. It shouldn't be a long construction process, we're hoping. The Newington Elementary and Beach Hill playgrounds, that was all done during school for the most part, and they've all been completed now. So that's all complete 100%. Let's see. Oops. Okay, some other things coming up. So we had a meeting last week, And the Austin Middle School roofing project is going to be kicking off the end of the month. And we also are having a kickoff meeting this week for the restroom renovations, because we're hopeful that we can get some work done over spring break and utilize some of our downtime between now and then to get some things done. The roofing and exterior envelope package, that's about 80,000 square feet of roof that we're going to replace at Gregg, and that's all the bid documents have been completed, so we are just finalizing some things on our end to put it out for bid on Skibo, so that should happen this month. Also, we should have out for bid a new asphalt contract, which will allow us to do several big projects that we have coming up, one being Fort Dorchester High School's entire campus getting repaved, and obviously Windsor Hills getting redone as well. So quite a few things we need that project for, not to mention Mr. Souls has got a road that we have to pave at Ashley Ridge that we need this contract for as well. The big one that's going to be this summer, I keep saying it because it's going to be a lot, is the Newington ceiling grid. It's going to be a massive project. We have to do abatement, we have to do ductwork, ceiling tile, lighting grid. So all that's going to happen this summer, hopefully, maybe split into 2 phases depending on what our contractor thinks, then we select. But we're expecting to have that out for bid by the end of this month, early March. And that'll be great to get that one going and get it off of or at least get it in progress. And that's all I have right now for an update, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Souls unless there's any questions.
Super quick question. Did we already do Flowertown? Did they do the ceiling?
So we decided we have to do both. Newington, when we did our surveys, they have some stuff above ceiling that we need to take care of first. So Newington's going to happen first. And also, it would have been very tough to do 2 buildings at the same time. So we're going to knock out Newington first and then move on to Flowertown. There's a chance we might be able to do something at Flowertown this summer, depending on how a few things play out. But we're going to try to put our focus in getting Newington done.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Good evening. Referendum projects are going well. The ponds, there's a continuing conversation going on there. It's a weekly conversation between the county, the district, and the developer out there at the ponds. And hopefully we can reach some sort of agreement, hopefully sooner than later. The Somerville Elementary addition is going very well. The block on the 2nd floor is about completed. We're ready to start some structural steel for the roofing. Hopefully this week, weather will let us get there. The above ceiling mechanical, electrical, plumbing, that's all going in on the 1st floor. Up on the 2nd floor, they're working through on the in-wall stuff, doing the electrical rough ends, plumbing rough ends. So all that's going well. And we're well on track for a midsummer completion on that one. Somerville High School gym, the fire and egress modeling analysis is in progress. I just got an email about 10 minutes ago, right before the meeting actually. The results look fantastic, so we can hopefully get on with the design here hopefully tomorrow. So the construction documents, they'll be submitted hopefully in the first part of June. Ashley Ridge High School additions and renovations are going well. The new band room, the block is already up. They should be starting to steel this week or next week. The in-wall rough end for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, that's all being done. They've already started some above ceiling work in the hallway that we had to complete. That's already being worked on. The scheduled completion date for the band room is May 25th. The demolition for the new weight room, which was the old band room, is nearing completion, and they're going to start the slab and the footings on that this week. And that one is scheduled for completion the very next week in June 1st. Fort Dorchester High School classroom addition, the strength training room. The permitting is complete. The pre-qualified contractors have all the bidding documents they need, and they will submit their bids to us on the 17th of this month, and that will be brought back to the board later in the month for approval. The Knightsville Elementary School campus upgrades, the kickoff meeting was held last week, and we're having another meeting for programming to find out exactly what Ms. Seaver needs in her building to accommodate a new wing. We're talking about a larger kitchen cafeteria, multi-purpose room for that school, upgraded their media center. So it's a lot of moving parts on that one. So we're trying to work early with the construction team and the design team so we can have all the pieces and parts together so that will flow smoothly through. So other CIP construction, Oak Brook Middle School, we're just waiting on a hydrant to be tested, and that'll be a done deal. Oak Brook Elementary addition, the roofing is completed, all the MEP is going in, above ceiling, and the permanent power will be turned on this week, and we're supposed to have an above ceiling inspection scheduled for the first week of March, and hopefully shortly thereafter we'll have a final inspection on that one to wrap it up. The bus maintenance facility at Oak Brook, the pre-construction meeting, we've got that scheduled for next week. We're working with the contractor and the design firm to coordinate some things that need to happen out there, possibly move the building a foot or two this way or that way, just so we can get the plumbing and everything to flow right. So, and then that was, we don't have a completion date scheduled for that one yet because we don't have a start date scheduled for it. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have everything nailed down on that. And I think that is all I have. Any questions for me? We got a lot going on. Jeff's got more going on than I do. He's got a lot of small stuff going on that turn into big stuff.
Well, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Jeff, for the update. We'll move on to our last item is 7E. It's a student enrollment recommendations. There's a few in your board packet and asking for board approval on those.
Okay, board members, we did receive that information in our packet. Is everyone okay with proceeding in open session? All right, great. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve the student enrollment request as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie, seconded by Ms. Bates. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor. All right, thank you, Mr. Doherty. The next item on our agenda this evening is our public comments. All right, and before we begin, I am going to read the public comment procedures. Public comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action or respond to public comments at this meeting. In order that the board may conduct the meeting in a civil manner, public comments should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. The board reserves the right to terminate any presentation which does not adhere to these guidelines. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. No specific names are to be used in comments. Comments regarding an employee or student will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Okay, and our first public comment on a non-agenda item for this evening is Ms. Kayla Cassidy.
Hi, how are y'all doing today? All right, so I'm here tonight. Oh, I guess my keys don't want to be here. I'm here tonight because the district's no bullying policy is not being enforced, and my children have had to pay the price for it. My daughter, who is 13 years old, she was bullied starting 5th grade at Newington Elementary. She is now in 7th grade, and she is homeschooled. We reported it to the principal, to the staff. Nobody did anything. I was told by the superintendent's office that unless my child spoke up for herself, that I could not speak for her, basically putting down the fact that I couldn't be her voice. When they did decide to actually pull my child aside and talk to her about it, the school decided it'd be a good idea to put her in the same room with her bullies and then question her. I'm sorry, I don't know if y'all feel this, but that's intimidation. That should never have happened. The bullying followed her from Newington over to Gregg Middle School. And I'm going to just say this, I didn't stay silent. From the first day of school, I walked in there, spoke to the principal and the counselors, and explained to them what had been going on the year prior. Nobody listened. For months, I reached out, reported repeatedly the bullying continued. I asked for help, I asked for intervention, I asked for everything, and nobody listened. No one listened, no one acted, and no one stopped. Instead, what I was told was everything that my daughter had gone through was just girl drama. Let me be very clear. Being shoved in hallways, hair pulled, pushed up against lockers, names calling, rumors started, and just being torturing towards children, that is not girl drama. That is bullying. My daughter, in April of last year, attempted to take her life because the school district refused to listen. At that point in time, that summer following, which would have been her 7th grade year this year, is her 7th grade year this year, she attempted again because she was too scared to go back to y'all's school. So we decided to homeschool. And then not too long ago, she attempted again because depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts and stuff don't stop just because you take a child out of school. That's something they continuously deal with. That's something I continuously have to deal with. I don't want any parent, I don't want any child to have to go to sleep and wonder whether their kid's gonna wake up the next morning or not. That's what I deal with on a daily basis. And now I've got 2 boys that are being bullied on the school bus, and a teacher and a staff member telling me that the student sits too far away from them for it to be bullying. I have emails, I've got voice recordings, I've got everything that I need, and I'll do whatever it takes to be my child's voice, even when somebody is telling me that I cannot. That is why I'm here today, not just to be their voice, but to be the voice of other people and their children that can't stand up.
Thank you, Ms. Cassidy. All right, next we have Mr. Jason Brockert.
Good evening. Well, I understand that a single voice should come up for a single topic. I had nothing to do with the previous speaker, whose name I'm not allowed to say. We've come a long way, and yet not, which is really interesting. So in the future, I think you're going to be hearing some more stories like that you've not been allowed to hear before. I've been in touch with many other families who would like to come share their stories, only they've been afraid to. And I would ask myself, why would somebody be afraid to stand up at a podium and speak to people? Well, if somebody looks at the last several years of my efforts at speaking at a podium, they would say that it doesn't matter, that nothing happens. You can come up to this podium dozens of times. But one of the interesting things about the preamble to public comment is that the board, understandably, is not allowed to directly comment to the speaker. The understanding is that there should be a follow-up to the speaker, to their concerns. And I'll be honest, I have had some follow-ups. I haven't sat down and crunched the numbers on them. If I were to napkin math it, I would say that I've had about 10% success out of hundreds of attempts for conversation. That's not even in the last year and a half. I mean, that's over multiple years, several administrations. Normally, I'll prepare myself with notes and look at your agenda and figure out what I can speak about. Again, the agenda didn't have anything with substance to be able to speak about. I mentioned that months ago. Not got any feedback about that. So I'm not really sure what else to do, but I think maybe you have an idea of what else I need to do, because I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I've been here time and time again. Wearing the same shirt every time. It's odd that nobody asked me, but on May 9th of 2024, I bought this shirt for my son and told him, I'm sorry, they don't have a small. You'll have to get a medium and grow into it.
Thank you, Mr. Brockert. All right, the next item on our agenda is our executive session. So board members, at this time, I would ask for a motion to convene into executive session for personnel-related matters, for the purpose of hearing a student discipline appeal, and for the purpose of receipt of legal advice. Motion made by Ms. Bates, seconded by Ms. Powell. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries, 7 in favor. We are in executive session and we will return. All right, board members, at this time, I would ask for a motion to return to open session. Motion made by Mr. Lee. Second. Seconded by Ms. Bates. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor. We are back in open session. All right, board members, at this time, I would ask for any motions from our executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we accept the personnel recommendation for Executive Director of our Special Education Department.
All right, thank you, Ms. Farnsworth. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Bates. Any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor. Do I have another motion?
Madam Chair, I make a recommendation to uphold the the district decision regarding the student appeal.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bates. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. King. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor. All right, board members, at this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Ms. Bates. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. King. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Motion carries 7 in favor. We are adjourned.